All right, Raider fans, how we doing? How we doing? It's NFL time. This is Money Mike. We're gonna break this down to you because the Raider way has been shut down. Antonio Pierce has been fired. Mark Davis, I'll tell you something. He's a man's man, and he's willing to get his hands dirty. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you this: Mark Davis is not Al Davis. He doesn't have the same amount of patience that Al Davis had. But what's going on out there, folks? You got the Raiders knocking on the door, shut it down, fired Antonio Pierce, cleaning out the building. Mark's not only cleaning out the NFL building, Mark's cleaning out the WNBA building as well, right? I mean, he's walking around like this ain't what I signed up for, right? So the Raiders are moving in a different direction, and that's Mark, right? Because Mark knows what he wants, right? And at the end of the day, he just hasn't had it. Now you got to ask yourself because you got a couple coaches that are getting fired, right? So you got Antonio Pierce is out, you got Dennis Allen is out, and the rumor out there on the block, right? Because I can't confirm it anywhere, but did they fire these guys for Chucky? Did they fire him from Chucky? I got to ask that question because Chucky's sitting out there and the rumors are swirling, right? And I'll tell you something about Mark Davis. Mark was really upset, okay? Really upset with Roger Goodell, okay, the way John got kicked out of the league. Now, with John, you got to understand something. John's took him to court. John's went all the way. I mean, they had to get some interceding to the judges because John was like, look, let's put us all in deposition and let's see who perjures himself, right? So John never let it go, right? Because John's like, look, you're not going to come in here and sabotage my career. And Mark was pretty, upset because the Raiders were moving in the right direction, right? And so they had to get out of there. They had to fire the general manager. I mean, they had to tear this thing all down. But we all know Chucky's Raider way, right? We know about that, right? And he's a Raider. He's going to live and die as a Raider no matter how it shakes out, right? Because he's got a relationship, right? Him and Al went head to head, right? And when you go back to the Raiders, right? You got to look at something about the Raiders that's different, right? You got Al Davis, right? And this goes all the way back to Pete Rozelle. They fought it out. So the Raiders have always been the outcasts, right? And whenever the league does anything, who gets the short end of the stick? It's always the Raiders, right? Tuck rule. You take Super Bowls away. Pittsburgh, you freeze us out in the ice. I mean, everybody's got something. Then the officials can never give the Raiders a call, right? So the Raiders have always been on the bottom side, right? But Antonio came in and he tried to give some spark. It's just tough on Antonio. Here's the deal why. Let me break it down. The Raiders have just got to be the Raiders. They've rebuilt before. McKenzie came over from the Packers. They're going to do it once. They'll do it again until they get to the Super Bowl, right? Because it always is never going to be the same. Well, you got you got a receiver, right? Devontae Adams. I mean, he's a big time receiver, right? He's going to go catch balls for the Jets, but they don't have anybody to throw the ball to him, right? And this goes back, all the way back to Carr. They let Carr out the door, and that was kind of a quirky situation, right? But it happened, and it's supposed to happen. Then you backdoor. The Raiders take the back door and they get rid of Jacobs, right? So now you got to ask yourself, right? Because you got Carr was a big timer. You got rid of him. You get rid of Devontae. You get rid of Jacobs. So now all the stars that the Raiders have are gone, right? There's no more players sitting there that the Raiders can get it in with. And now you got to ask yourself, which way is it going to go? Because Chucky wants back, right? Chucky did, he's a Raider, right? He got caught up in the shuffle, okay, of some bad things. Now here's the deal, folks. In the NFL, one thing I always tell you in the NFL is there's a lot of usage of profanity and a lot of things get said, right? And when you get to the NFL coaches, and Warren Sapp said it best, right? Because he came into Tampa Bay and he gave him some bite, right? He gave him some bite. That was a big transaction where Tampa Bay had to compensate Oakland back. But he went in there in 1 year and gave him some bite and won the Super Bowl, right? They need to get past Philadelphia. He said, I got him. He got on there hitting that keyboard. Next thing you know, they got him, right? They went on to win the Super Bowl, and they kind of took one from the Raiders. I was a black eye, really, because the guys put in the whole steam in Oakland, and all of a sudden he goes to Tampa Bay, and they know all the plays, right? So that one there just got really all bad, right? But the Raiders got choices, okay? There's choices in the game, right? And I'm going to tell you something that really always kind of irks me, but he's got to land somewhere. There's always something going on with these guys named Bill, right? The guy's named Bill in the NFL. So here, why am I telling you all this? Because, you got Bill, okay, and Bill Walsh was with the 49ers, right? He was great. But this name Bill, what's going on? Because Bill Walsh had Steve Young, had a couple good quarterbacks. He didn't have a salary cap in the beginning. They changed it, right? But I'm trying to figure out, Bill won a lot of Super Bowls. And I'm trying to look at these two guys here, right? You got two Bills, right? So there's something up with the gods of the NFL and the name Bill, right? Because you got Bill Walsh has got Super Bowls, you got Bill Parcells has got Super Bowls, and we know Bill Belichick. And I'm gonna tell you guys something while I'm bringing up Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's gonna land somewhere. I put a prediction on it because this thing is this merry-go-round of firing. I mean, they fired 7 people in the WNBA. Now you done fired 2 in the NFL. And there's more coming, right? Forget about waiting until Black Monday at the end of the season. Let's just get him out now. This guy's going to come down under fire here, too. And he's trying to scratch his way back. And you know what? He's done it before. But man, it's wearing thin in San Francisco, right? But that's part of the deal, and that's just how it works, right? But I get back to the Raiders, man, you get rid of Jacobs. I love the way Jacobs put his foot down and go downhill. I mean, this guy was a workhorse, right? But it didn't work out. And he's over there in Green Bay, and he's gonna get opportunity to run the ball, right? You lose Devontae Adams. I mean, you got nobody to throw the ball to now. So again, it's gonna be hard to win. If you take away the pieces, it's hard to win. It was the greatest experience you can get for Antonio because Antonio had an opportunity to be a head coach, right? It didn't work out the way he wanted it to work out. In the NFL, you have to understand a couple things, right? The entire NFL is structured. There's situations that have to happen behind the scenes, and at the end of the day, you're not going to win any football games without any players, right? But he got the NFL head coaching experience. Okay, he did it his way. He came in interim, and he got into the next season, right? But he was depleted on players, so that didn't work. So now he's out, and the Raiders need a coach, right? You can fit an interim in there, but they got to get something that's going to track this thing back to getting to the Super Bowl, right? So you got the same thing up there in New Orleans, right? Del Allen's gone, right? I mean, the one-trick ponies, man. I'm telling you, they're no good for the NFL, right? So you get these coaches who come in, they just do offense, they don't know defense, so they got to hire, and it never really works itself out. Now, you got Vance Joseph. I'll tell you, you got the firing is just beginning, right? Because you got the Cowboys, right? So the Cowboys are sitting over there and they're trying to figure it out too. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Right? Because you got Jerry Jones in there is just in a nightmare, right? But the legendary of the Al Davis, the Raiders going to do it the Raiders way. They're going to bring the vets in. They're going to get the right coach. They're going to get maybe go back to the alumni. They're going to do it the Raider way. There's only one way to do it. It's blue collar. It's not going to be the flashy. It's not going to be the shiniest. That was our way, right? You could smell the cologne a mile away, Howie Long used to say. If Chucky's there, I'm reaching. I'm reaching, but you know what? I know one thing for a fact. I know Mark Davis was really upset, okay, with Roger Goodell the way he took his coach away, right? And when you take somebody in their program and their coach, and you got Mike in there as general manager, and you got to get rid of him, so all of a sudden you depleted the Raiders down, and they got to rebuild, right? Because there's no love coming out of the NFL for the Raiders, right? I believe eventually. Now here's the deal. Here's the deal. Now you guys walk me through this and tell me if I'm nuts because I'm not nuts, right? Who's part owner of the Raiders, right? Who's part owner of the Raiders, right? Tom Brady, right? So when you get Tom Brady's part owner and you get these bills, right? So would it be out of touch or would I be reaching to say that Bill Belichick could come in and coach the Raiders? I mean, let's be honest, because I think Bill Belichick coached 49ers or the Raiders, either one, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, the Bills win. And I tell the gods or somebody explain how do Bills win so many Super Bowl? Bill Walsh was a master, right? He gave it up, but Bill won. You get in there to Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. They got a lot of Super Bowls under the name Bill, right? So they got choices. The Raiders, man, oh man, they just got to get this thing back in order, right? You get it back in order, and Mark's a little frustrated, right? Because when you walk around a building, you start firing people. That means okay, all right, Will, Chris, get yourself together, the public relations, because you're going to be busy now, right? Because the Raiders they're not quitting, they're not out. Okay, they just got to know we got to get this thing back in order in a hurry, and the Raiders have done it that way for a long time. Is Chucky the real deal? Yeah, he's the real deal. Did he go up against the NFL? Yes, he did. Did he take them to court? Yes. Did they want to go to court? No. Okay. And he's just like, look, I'm not going anywhere, right? I got enough power in me. And these NFL coaches, man, they got enough. They trust me, folks. Some of them sleep 2 hours a day, right? Because your job's on the line. And you got all this preparation that goes into a game. And that's something Jon Gruden knew how to do. He put it back together, but they had speed bumps, right? You had Antonio that came in there, the wide receiver. That was a speed bump, folks. That didn't work, right? You get Antonio Brown. I mean, you give him $30 billion. He doesn't even want the $30 billion, right? So the thing is, the Raiders can only do this the Raider way. And when you do things the Raider way, you build it from the inside out. You build your team, you take your licks, and they have. And now they want to come back, right? But you're not going to do anything if you don't have a quarterback, right? Because you can't go in there and play this game and you got a quarterback when you're paying them $60 million a year. Now, here's the deal with the quarterback and $60 million. Is it worth it? Nah, I'm not going to say it is, right? Because you got Dak Prescott sitting over there just choking up an egg, right? I mean, he's got nothing else to give. And you talk about when you get your receivers hurt. See, CD Lamb got hurt, and the deal is you don't want that to happen. But Devontae Adams up there with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, right? So he reunited. They had to go through a quirky reorganization process. Okay, let's send Devontae to Oakland, and from Oakland, you go back and join Aaron, right? And that combination is going to work. But the Raiders, right? This we're talking about the bobblehead of the Raiders, right? And you look at the history and what the Raiders do, they just got to get back to Raider football, right? And that's ground and pound, and you pick up the first down. But man, the offensive line and everything, they got to control in the front four. The D's got to control. So there's a lot of chemistry going on, but it's going on everywhere, and you got to pull yourself out of there, right? Because Shanahan's got to do the same thing. I mean, I clocked him on the hot seat, and he's had it. I mean, he's really ripped the 49ers organization apart. He's trying to rebuild it again. He got rid of Steve Wilkes. That didn't work. You bring in, all the San Diego Chargers, former head coach, Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator Staley, and you hire a guy to be your defensive coordinator that cannot do the job, right? So what happens? It all falls back on the head coach, and that's just the way it is. There's no reigning parade or anything like that. The head coach takes the beat. He's the CEO. If it doesn't work, we're not going to go ahead and get rid of players. We're going to get rid of the coach, and we can rebuild this thing. Now, here's what happens. When you get rid of the head coach, then they open up the floodgates of the bank, and they go out and get a quarterback. They do all the things they should have did for you. But Antonio's a big boy, right? He's been around this league. He understands how it works, and he's graciously accepted that opportunity because if I did it once, now I can go back and do it again, right? Now with Allen, you know what? It's not going to work, right? So you got a situation really, and this comes back to the quarterback, right? Because the quarterback really doesn't want to work with you, and he's not in sync. They're gonna just get rid of you, right? And that's just the way it's supposed to be. Al Davis is the Raiders, right? But let me tell you something right now. Mark Davis is not Al Davis, right? It's a completely opposite. Al had a lot of patience, talked to you for a while. This Mark just fired you, right? He's just like, go ahead and get out of here. So, the last firing they had, he didn't fire him. The league took him out. And Mark was so upset because how did you single out my guy to be the guy that's getting it in, right? So that's the way it went. Mark's Mark, but it's the Raiders. And when you roll with the Raiders, there's only one way to roll. That's the Raider way. Okay? Silver and black till the day you die, but you're going to get out there and you're going to fight. And those men that are on that field for the Raiders understand this. You are dealing with the world championship franchise, and you're going to take it home. There's only one way to do it, and that's the Raider way. Okay, that's how it gets done. You tell me why these Bill, there's something up with the name Bill, and there's one good free agent, I guarantee you, he's going to lock in a job. He's been on the TV talking, and guess what? He's tired of talking. That's Bill Belichick, right? So I got choices here. You got Gruden. Okay, you got Belichick to come in and take it from end to end. Tom Brady's an owner up there, so guess who's coming in? Nothing but Patriots. And I'm telling you, bring in Bill and you bring in all his staff. You might even get Teddy Bruschi out the booth for this one. Because it's the Raider way and his own way to do it. But, of course, there's Bill Walsh, and I'll tell you, y'all let me know what's up with the name Bill. Right? Because the Bills win more Super Bowls than anyone, and you got one Bill still left out there to go. Chucky's in the mix. They're talking about it. I got nothing official. Al Davis, the Raider way, and you got Mark Davis, right? Because he had to let somebody go. So this is how it works. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast.